having an easy way to make agents talk to each other, for example, Claude talk to Codex and Codex talk to Claude, was one of my biggest wishes over the last several months. And recently I've got an opportunity to actually implement it, and it turns out it can be done pretty easily. Some use case, why did I want it and why it's useful. For example, the first one, the very basic one, is review. You use one agent, for example, Claude, to implement the feature, and at a certain point you want to ask for a review from the independent model, from the agent that didn't implement this feature. Yes, and on top of that, it would be even better if it wasn't an Anthropic model, but was a model from OpenAI or Gemini or whatever, because it has its own perspective, its own way how it thinks about things. So it's obviously useful. How would I do it before having this agent bridge between agents? I would do the orchestration myself. I would ask the primary agent to sum up what it did, then add a few things on top of it myself, and open another app, copy-paste this stuff to Claude or Codex and ask it for review, then filter the findings, maybe forward the findings to the primary agent for him to address it. Then I would repeat the process and I would have to orchestrate all this communication between them. It was producing decent results because I would say in the vast majority of cases, this independent review from another model did find some useful things. So the whole process was useful, but it was tedious because this communication that I have to do manual copy-pasting myself, that didn't feel right. You know what? Let me just show you how the agent bridge works. I don't have a perfect example because that would be actually implementation of real world feature and making agents work together on it, but that's just a use case that works. I don't need to show you that because that requires a bit more time. Just to demo it, it would be enough if I open Claude and Codex, and for example in Claude I would ask it the following question. Ask Codex how is he doing. The reasoning is low, model opus 4.8, though it's not important here. And I'll ask the same question in Codex, but here we'll ask Codex to ask how Claude is doing. So let's look at the Claude first. It ran an agent bridge skill, so it recognized that it needs this skill in this situation. It loaded into memory and it actually used it, and Codex responded, hey, I'm doing well, ready to jump into language range whenever you are. So it works and it did it through its skill. So here is exactly how it did it. So it used this bridge.sh, a super lightweight .sh script that exists for the orchestration of this agent-to-agent communication. The thread is the chat inside of Codex where this question was asked, and it's important. I'll get back to this a little bit later after we look at the result from Codex. So it also worked. I'm using agent bridge skill to send Claude your message and bring back his reply. So let's see how it did it. Again, it loaded script into its context. It listed agents that are there, and it actually ran their request. So here's what Codex asked Claude. The user asks, how are you doing? Reply to them directly. And here is what Claude responded. I'm doing well, thanks for asking, etc. So that's just a super simple example of how it works. But the core feature of this skill is not just using Claude CLI or Codex CLI, because you don't need a skill for that. You could actually write to Claude something, use Codex CLI to ask this question, and it would work exactly in the same way. But the benefit and the value in this skill is in the orchestration and session continuation. So, for example, if I ask in Claude the following question, ask Codex, how is the weather today? And let's do the same in Codex, asking Claude. the idea is it's gonna be the same conversation, the same chat inside Codex. So the following thread that you see, it's gonna be continued. It's not gonna be the new Codex -p or whatever command. And same for Codex. It's not gonna be a new Claude -p command. It's gonna be a continuation of the same conversation. They responded differently. Claude said that it doesn't know the location to tell me the weather. Fair enough. And here, Codex inferred the location based on the time zone. So it made a guess based on the time zone, which a decent guess, I guess. In most situations, that would be correct, but that's not the point. And now, just to demonstrate you that it's the same chat, essentially, ask Codex to list our messages in the conversation that we had with him. Yep, here, and the same in Codex, but to Claude, just to understand whether it's the same chat or no. It should be the same chat, but just to demonstrate it to you. So let's see. Here is what Codex listed. The project's agentsmd instruction, okay. Then, hey Codex, just checking in, how is it going? How are you doing? Quick one, how is the weather today? Can you list all the messages requests? So basically, as you can see, these are the messages that Claude forwarded to Codex. Because this is exactly the command that it forwarded. Hey Codex, just checking in, blah, blah, blah. So that proves that it's the same conversation and it continues. The same you'll see here. This is the proof. How are you doing? Claude said he's doing well and offered to help with language range. This is the project that's opened right now. So it works. It's the same conversation. If at a certain point I want Claude start a new chat in Codex, one way to do it would be to just start a new conversation in Claude here. But I don't want that because I want to continue in the current one. I would just do the following, tell it reset Codex conversation and ask if he is happy. So it will use a simple script to reset the conversation or start a new one, and it will start a new chat. So here is what it responded. And let's ask again, which messages does he know about? Let's do the same in Codex. And as you can see in Claude, again, agentsmd, which is good because it exists in the repository. And the first message is, are you happy? So these messages are gone because it's a new conversation. And any follow-ups that there will be in this chat in the primary agent in Claude, they would go into the new conversation. And the same, absolutely the same with Codex. So this is the main feature of this skill because it makes it possible for sessions to continue, and it saves some work for Claude or Codex or whatever agent you add around this orchestration about chats. Because could it in theory work without it? Yes, it could. You could tell Claude, like, I want all the messages inside our chat be within one Codex conversation. It would essentially figure it out. It would go and check how to get the thread ID, where to save it. It would save it, and you would continue. But you would have to repeat it all the time, and Claude would waste some effort on figuring out how to actually make it work. And sometimes it would work, and maybe sometimes it wouldn't work because maybe Claude wouldn't find out properly how to accommodate this session continuation. Same applies to Codex. And now let me show you how this session continuation actually accommodated. So in your user root repository, it creates the .agent bridge directory with projects, and it names projects here, kind of similar to how Claude and Codex apps work under the hood. And here the directory separates based on primary agents. So for example, the Claude one, in this project, language range-web, I had the following Claude conversations that called codecs. So these session IDs are the chats inside of Claude. If I filter by date, yeah, so here are a few from today. Then we have a secondary agent by name. So if there was a codecs conversation, and you actually see the logs and the session ID persisted in the session file. And that's essentially how it works, where secondary agent conversations are being persisted. A small detail, but I think the important one, is what the primary agent sees when the secondary agent is working. So in this demo, the conversation was pretty simple, asking about the weather. And here on the right, you see I have opened what the command looks like. So when Codex was calling Claude, it didn't see like a lot of reasoning inside of it. So basically Claude is done and it's response. But when you do like a real work that's more complicated, here on the left, like you see a chunk of my conversation about solving some issue on the website, and you see these lines like that. Claude prints you when it's working on something like big break, the user's own dev service already running, transitions are at frames, blah, blah, blah. It streams you such intermediary responses and in the end kind of does the summary. This summary in the end sometimes is good, sometimes it's not that good. What I mean here is that sometimes to really understand what the agent was doing, it's not enough to just read the final message. It would be beneficial to also see the following intermediary messages that happened as agent works on the task. And that's exactly what primary agent sees. So it doesn't really see just the last message, but it sees the whole streamed result. And this is a deliberate choice I made because I think the results should be a little bit better and the primary agent should have a little bit more clarity like this. And here is the skill itself. It's open source, called Agent Bridge. Feel free to use it if you want. As I said, it's just a skill, so it has a main skill.md file. It has a scripts directory with some small helper scripts that accommodate this communication between agents. It has the adapter script that makes it possible for the new agents to be just a drop-in addition. So I plan to add Gemini anti-gravity CLI here. And the only thing that would be required is a tiny update inside of the skill.md, just to mention that the agent is available there, and the addition of the uniform JSON file, essentially that helps us to have a uniform interface around different CLIs. So as you can see, the keys in this JSON file are the same for both agents. So that helps to make our script uniform and work with any agent that we want. In references, you see the parts of the skill that get loaded on demand. So for example, this one about Claude and this one for Codex, they are not loaded into their context always. So for example, when it's Claude prompting Codex as a secondary agent, it will load only this reference. I mean, ideally, it's LLM after all. We don't really control what it's doing, but in most of the cases in normal execution, it would just load this codex.md file and wouldn't load this claude.md that has details specific to this CLI agent. And yeah, I realized I didn't mention it works on top of CLIs. So in order to make it work, you need to have Claude CLI or Codex CLI. If you want to use Gemini in the future, you would need to have anti-gravity CLI. It's also a conscious decision to make it like that because CLIs are pretty powerful. They have like a full harness for Codex and for Claude, so that this secondary agent is really autonomous and can really solve real issues. So it's not just for review prompting, as I said, it's about troubleshooting something, helping to find bugs, I don't know, planning some features, or even implementing a part of the feature, because I can open Claude and say here, hey, do this, and use Codex as your sidekick worker for the actual implementation or whatever. So this is what this skill does, how it works, and as I said, feel free to use it if you like. Thanks again, and bye-bye.